the cell phones, I don't want you to shut your cell phone off if that's what you're using for the meeting. We're gonna try and keep things going as normal as possible. I'm gonna look for your hands, and Bianca will help me with this, and we'll try and get through this. Good morning, Council, and before we get started this morning, I want to say the past couple of weeks have been a real challenge and has a lot of firsts for our council and the municipality. All I can say is we're going to do our best to get through this pandemic. I want to thank the public and the businesses for working with us in these trying times. And I want to thank staff for improvising and working hard in these complicated times, developing new methods and doing day-to-day tasks while you're trying to keep HBM moving forward. Council, I want to thank you as well. As we work through this, we have had our own challenges, and I'm sure this meeting, as we've already started off here, will demonstrate some of them, but the provincial government's allowed us to conduct the business virtually, and we're doing just that, and we'll see how it goes. Although it may not be perfect, we'll get through this, and it's an unprecedented time, but we'll always remember 2020, I'm sure. So when we get to the new business portion of the meeting, I'm going to open that up to council, and we'll discuss COVID-19 related issues and concerns that you've heard or you have, and we'll see if we can answer them, and if we can't, we'll get the answers. But I know we're all hearing different things and concerns, and that'll be the opportunity for us to open it up to talk about COVID-19 and try and keep it to that. So with that, the moment of silent reflection, I'm not going to do that. I think we've had lots of silence in the last few weeks, just spending time with our families and trying to keep things as normal as possible. So we'll try and keep this meeting as normal as we can. And like I say, there will be challenges as we work through this, but we'll get there. So declaration of pecuniary interest. If anybody has a declaration, you can state it now. If not, we'll move on to the next part of the meeting. So the minutes of the regular council meeting on March 16th and a special council meeting on March 24th. I would need a motion that we receive those minutes if they're okay with you. I see Hart putting his hand up, moving that, and looking for a seconder. Barry seconds that. Councillor Pomeroy. All in favor? I'll look for your hands. Carried. Thank you. I'm kind of working off paper and computers here, so bear with me. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge for me too. So we don't have any delegations or presentations here. We have some staff reports for information. The first one was Ryan Andrew with the Supervisor of Infrastructure, Public Works 2020 Capital Projects Report and Plan. There's a lot of information, good information on there. I'm just, and then the next one he had was Public Works Department update. So I think we could do the both of them together if I could get a motion to receive them, unless there's any questions with regards to that. But I see Hart making a motion that we receive those updates, department updates from Ryan. Is there a seconder? A seconder from Councillor Ellis with a question? Okay, Bianca, can you open it up to Councillor Ellis?
Through you, Mayor. Martin, under projects, I don't see anything in the budget to address the issue on the 6th line regarding drainage in the area of 1659 6th line. It's the area where we have all the water from east and north, south. It all drains to the north. It's been an issue over the years there. Pete came again this year and opened up the crevice that looks off of the water. but there's something needs to be done there, and I'm wondering, is there anything in the budget to address it?
So that issue, I just found out about it when we had already been meeting for budget talks, and it hadn't been on, it hadn't been something that we were looking at doing this year. So if it's something that council wishes to look at moving forward with, we can look at doing that and getting prices together for next year.
Well, I would suggest at least getting something together, because this is not something new. We have a resident there that's been very patient with a number of different issues caused to his property. The crevice that has been created there and covered with a grate to help take the water works to the most degree under normal conditions, but as we all see, we have a lot of abnormal weather. So I would ask to have something started to address it.
Okay.
I think that when we talked about that, we were going to come back and do a separate report because it didn't get captured in the 2020 budget. So we'll have to see what the costs are and where we can access those funds from.
Go ahead, Larry.
Yes, and so it's one of the items I'm going to add to when we create our road tour. I'm going to add that to make sure that council all see and understand.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it, Larry, is we'll take a look at it on road tour, and I'm sure there's something we can do there. Dave, was that your hand up?
Yes, it was.
And then Barry. Okay, so Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with Councilor Ellis on this issue of the road on the 6th line. This is something we can't put off any longer. This problem was created when the 6th line was redeveloped and redid, and it's just continually got worse. And I'm I guess partly responsible that was overlooked at the budget time, but I don't want to go have that individual be flooded for another year. So I agree with Councilor Ellis. We need to take a real close look at this and see if we can't do something before fall this year.
Yeah, and that's it. I think it's okay in the summertime for the most part, unless we get a crazy flood. So it'll be something that we'll have to look at and see if we can work it into somewhere even if it comes into next year's budget to advance something. But we can take a look at it. We can get it done. Is that Barry? You had something?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Barry, we can hear you.
Okay, I have a question here on the water tower. Recommendation that the fall arrests be removed. I'd like to know what that is from the tower.
Okay, Ryan.
Sorry, can you repeat that, Barry?
The recommendation to remove the fall arrest from the tower.
Is that on the spreadsheet?
It's on the spreadsheet.
Okay. Yeah.
It's on page 25 of 44.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just to answer your question, Barry, all of these budget items were provided to us from Aqua, and it was all approved through council. But as for that, I don't have an exact answer on what that all is involved. So if you like, I can get in touch with Aqua and get some more information and better answer your question.
Yeah, and in the past, we always had those people come and make a presentation at budget time or before budget time with the proposals so that we could ask it. Makes it very unfair for for yourself and anyone else that, you know, it's good to put them on paper here now, but at the time when you could ask the question, I think it would be more beneficial to us. There's a couple of things on there that, you know, they come up every year, but I think we should still be able to pose the question.
So these are some of the things that once we get back to normal, we had already asked about having Aqua come in. So I think that's, you know, that'll be a good thing for all of us to have them in and do an update for us. But through this, what we're up to right now is going to be difficult until we start having meetings. So if it carries on too long, we may have to do a virtual meeting with them, and then council will be fully up to speed. But right now, if we could see where this goes over the next couple of weeks and get them on as soon as hopefully we get back to normal in the near future. I think Dave had something.
Thanks, Jim. First of all, Ryan, thank you for your report. It's very well done. It's precise, clear, good report. The only question I have, and I guess it's a question, on page 26 of 44, and it says that staff has concluded the interviews for the summer students, and it lists the recreation facilities, parks, and the waste transfer, and so on. With all our facilities being shut down, probably the beach at Kosh Lake, et cetera, have we got a backup plan if providing that we don't get over this pandemic as soon as we'd like? I have concerns that we'll have summer students that we're going to be trying to find jobs for. You've got a more handle on that than I do, Ryan. That's your department. So maybe you just give me an update if there's a backup or a plan B if we don't get rolling here. Thank you.
Yeah. So, through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, we were planning on, well, we were fortunate enough to have already had our interviews done prior to this all happening. So we were able to go through that process and make employment offers. So when it comes to the summer student employment, we still have an obligation to maintain our parks and our recreation facilities to a certain standard. So we still will require staff to perform those tasks as much as if they aren't being used, say, for example, the soccer field or the baseball diamond, we're still going to have to maintain those facilities. And I think we were playing some catch up last year, and there was a bunch of projects that we didn't get completed that we're planning on getting done. So if there is an opportunity for us to catch up on a few things that are outstanding, there's a few playground deficiencies and some safety concerns that we have within the parks that we would take it at that time to address those concerns. So certainly there's lots of work there for our students to do. As for the roads, there's only one summer student there. We haven't looked closely in the details of what projects we're going to be using them for. And the other summer student position is for the transfer station. So that's certainly something that we would wish to maintain throughout the summer to help with things over at the 6th line. So.
Thank you for that, Ryan.
Okay, so did you have anything hard, or did I see your hand go up, or were you scratching your face? Okay, all right, so if everybody's okay with that, I'll look for, I've got the motion, I've got the seconder. Ryan, you had a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to make just a comment on the capital work plan list that I provided to council. Just so you know, there's no surprises that came up on this. Everything that is on that sheet was put in front of council during budget meetings. So I just wouldn't want you to think that there was anything that was changed or anything that has been added since that budget has been approved. Just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Okay, and I think during the budget, we had some clarification that we wanted to get, and that'll happen as we get into an open meeting again, or we're able to have Aqua. I see Barry's hand up.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, something has changed though, Ryan, because now we have a bunch of stuff closed down, so are we going to need as many students, you know, to fill in? You know, we have the arena shut down, the parks are all shut down. What are we gonna have students do? I mean, can your department pick it up? I'm just asking a question.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I believe I did my best there to answer that question just previously, but just to kind of confirm that we still have an obligation to maintain our parks and our facilities at a certain standard. And without having those resources, we wouldn't be able to perform that. Even if they aren't being used, we still have to maintain it to a certain standard. And like I said, there was a lot of projects last year that we didn't get completed that, given the opportunity, if there is a little bit of extra time, we would take advantage of that to try and correct some of those concerns that we had in the past. So.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where we're at. I know with my own business, I'm starting on May 1st. We have to cut grass, can't leave it. So with that, that's the biggest part of your job in the summertime for the students. So we'll just work through this and we'll take it day by day, I guess. So so I have a mover. I had Hart that moved it and Barry that seconded it. So is all in favor of the staff reports for information? So that's carried. So the next part we have are staff reports with follow-up action. And Sonia, I'm gonna put you on. And I just wondered here, Ray Haynes is on there, but can he talk, or is his mic open? He's on the phone. So just wondered if.
Call in. 2308. Okay. Yes, Ray is here, and he's listening to the meeting.
Okay. All right. That's fine. I just see his name on there. I haven't heard from him, and that's not like him. Anyways, we'll okay. So Sonia, sorry about that. We'll move over to your report. Can you hear me, Sonia?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So we have the bylaw for stop up and close. You have a report on that?
Yes. Okay, good morning, everyone. This is the report to pass a bylaw to stop up and close and convey part of the road allowance between lots 15 and 16, concession 6, having civic address of 544 Peninsula Road. The recommendation is that council pass the bylaw to stop up, close, and convey that part of road allowance under the bylaw section of the agenda. The background on this report is at the March 2nd, 2020 meeting, the following motions were passed. R0920, that the request from Fred and Linda Lautenschlager to stop up, close, and convey that portion of the unopened road allowance bisecting their property at 544 Peninsula Road be approved, that the property owners submit a current opinion of value, which they have. The property owners submit a reference plan, which has been submitted but not registered on title and is being done now. The property owners assume responsibility for all planning and legal costs and to file an application to rezone the property. RO 92-20 resolution that the unopened municipal road allowance hereby be declared surplus. And the appraised value of $4,500 as is forms the offer to purchase from Fred and Linda Lautenschlager. Staff is hereby authorized to commence the process to stop up, close, and convey the subject property to the Lautenschlagers in hopes that council goes ahead and recommends the bylaw. Thank you.
Okay. So that report, if council is okay with it, if there's any questions, now's the time, but otherwise we will be receiving that report and the bylaw will come forward at the end of the meeting. So is there any questions with regards to that? Barry?
Approve it.
Okay, go ahead, Barry. You approved it?
Yes.
Okay, and a seconder? Deputy Mayor Giroux?
I had a question.
Yeah, this is, we don't have to do that right now as far as just moving on. I guess it's the motion to receive it. So, okay, so that's moved by Barry and seconded by Dave. Gwendolyn, you had a question?
The only thing is we have to just double check to make sure that HST would not be applicable. So they need to know that it may or may not be applicable with the sale.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so all in favor of the, to receive that report? Carried. Thank you. Okay, the next report,
Yeah,
oh, Barry?
yeah, are we just gonna receive it or are we gonna approve it? I thought Sonia
Well, we
wanted us to approve it.
We have the bylaw at the end of the, meeting, or,
Okay. I'm going a little cuckoo here, Jim.
okay. Yeah, we do have a bylaw. We can move that into right now and take care of it if you like. Why don't we do that? We do that when we normally have a meeting, Bob. So,
Well, then let's set it away.
yeah, okay. The bylaw is to stop up and close and convey those lands and premises part of road allowance lots 15 and 16, section 6, geographic township of Methuen in the township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. So if there's no discussion, we'll get a motion to pass that or to move it. Moved by Councillor Pomeroy, seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor? Carried. So that's moved, that we move along with that. Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you.
So, Gwendolyn, we're going to move into your report. It's about waiving the tax penalty for May and June. We did discuss this at the last virtual, well, the telephone meeting that we had, or the, anyways, we were looking, or no, it was actually our meeting we had at the council chamber, and we did do a 30-day extension. This is something that most people are doing now because it's carried on so long and it's hit so hard. So if you could explain your report.
Yeah, basically with new information from the province, they're saying that it may be up to 3 months for the pandemic. So my report is trying to cover off the May 1st and June 1st penalty only, not the interest penalty, because the penalty would be the current 2020 taxes that would be due, and the interest would still continue for any 2019 and prior years that are outstanding. So I have had a few inquiries from people asking why we're not doing the same as other neighboring municipalities for the next couple of months. So I just left it to continue basically as per the last motion that was passed. So it's up to council if you want to include or exclude the 2019 and prior years.
Yeah, okay. So at our last meeting when we did the 30-day, it was still pretty fresh and a lot of things moving. And now this is actually what most are doing, and it's probably a good thing, but it's up to council here. It would be similar to all our neighboring communities around us. So the big word out there is hopefully people will pay if they can pay, because it's going to catch up big time later. So, but this is an opportunity for people that are struggling to defer it a little bit here. So anyways, I'll open it up to council before we make the motion. Is there any questions or comments with regards to this report? I'm not seeing any. So I'll look for a motion that we approve the staff report about deferring the taxes. Is there a motion? Does somebody want to move that?
I think Barry had his hand up too.
Oh, okay. Councillor Ellis, and seconded by Councillor Webb with a question. No, you got a question? Okay. So is there a seconder here before we've got Councillor Ellis moving it? Is there a seconder at all? Deputy Mayor Giroux, and then I'll open it up Barry and then Hart. So Barry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that, Hart had some good points the last time, and I was kind of waiting for him to put his hand up there to get a better explanation.
Okay. Okay, so you want to, okay, so Hart, you had a comment?
Yeah, so, well, just basically what I said last time is what is our reasoning behind canceling waiving the penalty on the 2019 taxes? Because I think in the discussion we had last time that was something that happened last year, and I understand we are where we are now. But I think you just commented, Jim, that the municipality still has to move forward in some direction, and we're going to need money. And I
So
know,
just to be clear, the recommendation is just to waive the 2020
Installment.
taxes, not the previous.
okay,
If
we used
council
like-
wanted to go there, then they'd have to change my recommendation.
Yeah, it's just for the the installment on the past installment that we just had, which a lot of people are saying most probably had that already, but when we get into the June installment, this is to help the people for that. So, yeah, it doesn't go, not for back taxes.
I'm all for that. Just Wendland, didn't you referenced 2019 when you were speaking there? What was?
Yeah, I was just trying to clarify that my motion is just for the 2020. And if council wanted to go further, then they'd have to change my recommendation that I had on the meeting here.
Okay, but what was your reference to other municipalities and what they were doing? Didn't you said that
Some other municipalities are waiving both.
Yeah.
So it's all up to what council wants to do.
Sorry, I was confused there. I thought you said that all the other municipalities had waived the
No.
penalty fee. So sorry, I was misunderstood. You were misunderstood.
No problem.
Okay. Larry, you had a question?
Well, no, I'm just going to reference the recommendation by our treasurer, and that is for the 2020 taxes, which was a motion passed. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, yes, that's right. So this is just extending it another, I guess, 60 days to help us get through these times. So is there any other questions with regard to it? So I had a mover, Councillor Webb moved it and Deputy Mayor Giroux seconded it, I think I had. So all in favor of this recommendation? That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
So correspondence, action items, there wasn't any. There was an order, Emergency Management Civil Protection Act piece of correspondence. If we could get a motion to receive the correspondence. Moved by Councillor Webb and seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? That's carried. I should be showing my hand too, but I've been kind of slipping a little bit. So, so we're going to move into liaison reports. And bear with me here as I catch up on the computer thing here. So, so it's liaison or councillor activity reports, and so there wasn't a lot this month as far as a lot of meetings have been canceled. With that, sorry, I'm just getting behind on the computer here. So the one part that I had in here was with regards to, I've had a ton of meetings and they're all video and teleconferences. And I know Dave and I had one with the county too. And I think we've had a couple with the county. Marion Monsif has been meeting pretty well every other night. And then Dave Smith has had about 3 or 4. And what they did last week is they started having these, they were starting to join up. So Dave had his meeting on Friday, I think it was, or Thursday. We had a meeting. We did Dave's meeting first, which was with the mayors around his riding, which included the city, First Nations, and a few others around the county. And then Miriam started at 7 o'clock. So Dave's was a video conference. Miriam's was a phone call. On her call, there's probably 16 people on that phone call. It's a real, you talk about talking over people and trying to, you got to jump in there when you want to talk. And they've been doing really well. The big comments out there right now is how well they're working together in these challenging times. They're both kind of bouncing things off, so they're both in the know, and that's the way they want to do it moving forward. Is their meetings will be simultaneously or right after each other, and that way it's the same people on both calls. The one on Thursday or Friday night was 3 hours almost. Long time to sit on the phone or on these videos, but the information on the federal side is a lot of explaining better on some of the stuff that Justin says through the day. It's usually a follow-up after that. And then Dave does more information with regards to the province. Most of us see it in the paper and hear it. And if there's ever any questions that you want to ask, by all means, email me or call me, and I can try and get those questions in there. They're doing really well at keeping us updated. I had to talk to Dave yesterday, which was Sunday, with regards to a problem we have in the north with camping already. That's the earliest I've seen camping with ice on the lake and in tents. But anyways, I've asked him for some help there because Ray had to do a run up there on Thursday night to get them to put their fire out with this fire ban on. So these are things that people still aren't taking it seriously, and that's the big word that we're trying to get out there. We're trying to, make people understand that do what you have to do, but don't do anything extra. So the complaints are rolling in. Some people, I think, because they have so much time on their hands, there's what was once a little thing is now a big thing, and the calls keep coming. So anyways, we'll get through this, but like I say, if you have any calls or questions with regards to what's going on or clarification, phone me would be the best way, and then I'll get the questions out to Miriam and Dave. And it's also good that all the rest of the municipalities are bouncing things off each other on how we're dealing with things, because we all have our own challenges. And Dave mentioned something there with the boat launches. That's something that I've had some other municipalities call me about, how we're dealing with it. I had some ratepayers call me on Thursday or Friday asking what we're going to do with it. That might be some discussion here moving forward, and we'll try and have an answer by the end of the week on how we're going to deal with that. But I did have a call yesterday about somebody out on their sea-doo yesterday. The ice was still in parts of the lake, and people are out there running around on their sea-doos. I guess it's a way of releasing some energy, as long as they don't get hurt and tie up our first responders for something unnecessary. So the whole idea here is isolation, and that's the word that we're trying to get across as politely as possible without telling people, it's a common sense thing, and we don't have common sense right these days. So hopefully that'll pop up over the next few days. So anyways, if you have anything, get back to me, and I'll get your question asked, and we can move forward on those things. So Barry, you had a question?
Yeah, Jimmy must have scared them up at Bottle Lake, because I was up on Saturday and there was no one there.
Perfect.
No, I know. But I think with all the rules and regulations that are coming down, they can't set up the way they have in the past. Like they should get the law after them and fine them, because you can't have these makeshift toilets and so on and so on and so on. There's so many things that now that the government has legislated that we should be able to act.
That's exactly what I told Dave yesterday, and Dave was going to look into it with the OPP also, because Ray went up on his own actually. And yeah, there's the one ratepayer that emailed me said that there was outhouses or not outhouses, but they had washroom facilities set up, and it was 9 people with 3 tents. So Dave did say that is part of the crowding thing. They're talking about more than 5 people, no more than 5 people. So hopefully it gets dealt with. M&R did not return my call. I called them twice and still haven't received a call. I'm going to call them again today because this is their issue. They're saying no camping, and this is what's going on. So they need to help us with this. So I'll call again today and see if we can get something done there. But anyways,
And if we can't get any satisfaction from them, you know, from the Ministry of No Resources there, I think maybe we should take and go the other route and go the OPP and have some of these people charged, and it might put a crimp on it.
Yeah, I think that's what's coming. I think there's going to be some drastic changes here this week. We see the military starting to move into some areas. If people don't get the message one way, they're going to get it another, and that's I think what's ramping up right now. But we'll see. Don't want to, you know, put the fear thing into everyone. Let's just get things going here. So, do you need a motion to receive that report, Bob?
Yes, please.
Okay. I see Hart's thumb up still. I don't know whether that's a lingering. Okay, you received that. Moved by Councillor Webb.
Mayor Martin, I think Councillor Webb has a comment.
Oh, you got to, okay, Hart, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, Jim. I can move that if you want. I just,
Okay.
talking with committee liaison reports. I spoke with Principal Borgatti from the school last week.
Mm-hmm.
She was just inquiring, she's up in Peterborough still, obviously the school's still closed. If she was inquiring kind of about families, how people were doing in our community, and possibly if there were any families struggling through this time, that the school through their, well, they have their backpack initiative and whatnot, but maybe the school could reach out to these people, you know, at this time to kind of help. So I'll just put that out there for any other members of council or any other members of staff. If they know somebody in the community at this time that's, you know, struggling with kids or whatnot, just let me know so we can get in contact with the school, and hopefully they can provide a little bit of support for them.
That's really good, Hart, because with the education side of things, everything's changing pretty rapidly right now. The last 3 or 4 days, there's been some new information. So if you can keep up on that and keep staff updated on it, they can keep that on our webpage there as far as part of the COVID-19 update. It's good information for the people out there. I know they're getting informed from the school board on how they're going to go ahead with this new e-learning trial, but I did see that the school is going to be a hub for Wi-Fi. There's some concerns around some of that stuff, but if you could keep staff updated on that, that would be great. And then we can keep our website up to date for those people that need to see that information.
I will. I think the e-learning is supposed to actually start today. I got to log in for my own 2 children, and I'll be speaking with Michelle later. So if later today, so I'll update members of council and staff on what comes out of that conversation.
That's perfect. So you moved that. Was there a seconder to this, to receiving that report from me? Councillor Ellis, and then do you have a question?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin, seeing that we're doing councillor activities, just, I'm sure everybody's aware anyway, but both our cemetery board and our Chamber of Commerce meetings obviously have been all canceled. From the cemetery, there was a correspondence came from the Bereavement Authority of Ontario. I messaged that off or sent it off to staff as well as council. Basically, it was directing all cemeteries to be prepared in the case of death of a person with COVID-19. That was sent to all cemetery boards as well as funeral homes. And as well from Chamber of Commerce, there was correspondence came that I shared with staff with a very detailed report again on COVID-19. So I believe Wendellin's sharing that a little later on, the one that came from the Chamber of Commerce. But, just wanted to bring that forward at this time under councillor activity reports. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Bob, and then Dave.
Just a brief follow-up. through you, Mayor Martin, with respect to the information that Councillor Ellis provided to staff. I just want council to know that Bianca did forward that. She has a listing of all businesses in the community, and all of that information has been shared, as was the information previously provided from Peterborough Kawartha Economic Development. So Bianca has her database, and she is sharing any business information that she can at this time.
Thank you. Dave? And Barry?
I thought you were asking for a motion to accept your report, and we kind of got carried away. So if we're going to continue with the reports, how are we going to do it? Do you want a motion to receive your report, or you just want to carry on and do it all at once?
Yeah, it did get into more discussion, so so I guess what's your suggestions here, Bob? We did have a mover with Hart, and we can wait till this is over and receive all the reports.
That is correct. We'll retain the mover and seconder, and if there are any other further committee reports, we'll just include them in the motion.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions or comments? Dave, go ahead.
So I'll just give you a brief rundown on the trails through you, Mr. Mayor. I did provide our clerk/CAO with some documents from the trails. I realize it'd be most cumbersome to add that to this agenda, since it's the electronic agenda, and it'll come in the future. I just want to say that I have sent out a letter to all the board members from the Eastern Ontario Trails Alliance to keep them updated on the COVID-19 incidents. The trails are open. We've met with in calls with government agencies and conservation authority boards and so on to make sure this was the right direction to take. So they are open for mental and physical exercise to get on the trails. These trails actually in the east are used for transportation by some of the Mennonites in that country, so it's pretty hard to close them. We don't have gates on our multi-use trail system. There are some trails in the province that are closed, but they're privately owned trails. The SAFE program have been out on the trails. For those that don't know the SAFE program, that's the OPP that do ride the trails. There have been charges laid, so we want you to be realistic and not a statistic. So anybody using the trails, we hope that you will keep the distance in mind and to know that there is a place, if you're capable and healthy enough to get on the trails to go for a walk, they're available. Thank you for that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, yeah, that's going to be something I think for discussion in the future, because that's one of the complaints that I've been getting this weekend is about isolation and all these people out on four-wheelers. Didn't know how to answer it. I didn't know what was happening with EOTA, but that's good information. So go ahead.
With a follow-up to that, Mr. Mayor, that's why the SAFE program is out there. The trails we're talking about the multi-use trail system. I know I've had complaints this week, four-wheelers using their own roads. And I know people have to get out, but like we say, we want you to be as realistic and not a statistic. So we have to keep a close eye on it, but as of right now, the multi-use trail system is open. I'm not saying it's going to stay open, but as of present time, it's open.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments with regards to this part of the? Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, this is just some other business that hasn't been looked after, I don't think yet. But the ballpark at the booth, I think we should inform the person that took out the tender that there probably won't be any booth opening there this year. And 23 King Street, I see it hasn't been looked after yet. And did anybody get any complaints from the transfer site at the 6th line?
Okay, so some of those things, we don't know if the ballpark's going to be closed for the whole season. I guess we'll be playing that, over the next couple of weeks or a month. But I hope that there's some things calm down here before the season's over. But it is closed right now, and I think they understand that all public buildings are closed. So as far as the King Street thing there, I'm not sure where that's at. I think it's just waiting to get a sign up there. So, Bob, do you have anything? I don't know if Ray can
I
talk.
can comment on that through you, Mayor Martin. That's exactly where it's at. We are going to put, I think for the time being, we will put a makeshift sign up there. It might not be the prettiest one. It wasn't our preference to do it this way, but for the time being, that's the way it's going to be. And we will put one up there. And that will be happening shortly.
Okay.
And also on the park booth, if they do open it, they should not be charged the full amount that they tendered for. Because it's definitely not going to be open that soon, I don't think. If it is, it's a miracle, and I hope it happens.
Yeah, okay. So Ryan, you can look after that anyways. I think as we move forward, we'll know by the end of April where we'll have a better idea, I think, on how this curve's going to go, or if it starts to level off, because let's hope, eh? So, okay, so I did have a mover and a seconder. Oh, but Larry, Councillor Ellis, you have something? I can't hear you. Just a minute. You're mute. There you go.
I was just going to make a comment. I thought we were under councillor activity reports, because the next report is other business for all these other items.
Yeah, that's what we're going to move into once we get out of this one here. There's some items in there that for discussion, and then and that'll be open to council too, to talk about anything related with COVID-19. So, so this portion of councillor updates, we have a mover and a seconder to receive all the reports, if that's all there was, and all in favor of receiving those reports, that would be carried. So, okay, so the next portion of the agenda is written or oral notice of motion. We don't have any written here. Is there any oral notice of motions that council wants to bring up at this time? Seeing none, we're going to move into new business now. And the first thing on new business is the introduction of clear bag policy. And unfortunately, due to where we're at right now and trying to have public meetings, it was suggested by staff that we put a little hold on this. It's more of a deferral. The idea was to announce it on Earth Day, and staff's done a lot of work preparing to, so we're ready to go with this. But right now, public has a lot of things to worry about, and this isn't something they need to worry about. So we're thinking maybe if we could still aim for the January 1st soft launch, and then do it possibly what a lot of people do. Some do it for 6 months, some do it for 18 months. I think if we could look at trying to get this thing going and let the public know that clear bags are coming, and hopefully in the next month or two, we can do the official launch of it, but we need to get it on the website that it is coming, and people start preparing for it, because it's not going to go away. So, whether it's a sign over at all the transfer stations saying that, be aware the clear bag policy is passed in principle, but we're going to be launching it with the soft start January 1st, and possibly we can come up with a date later once we do the policy, I think, Bob, if that works for you. But for now, it's just to get the word out. If council's okay with, in principle, starting to do the education as far as letting the public know that it's coming and start to prepare. The last thing we want is people going out and buying 100 black garbage bags because they were on sale, and then complaining that they weren't of any use to them when the clear bag policy comes in. So, Bob, can you? speak to
Through you,
that?
Mayor Martin, just to expand upon that briefly. If council so desires, we did, as staff, we felt we just want to be very sensitive during this time. People are obviously very anxious and very stressed with a lot of different things on their minds. We wanted to be careful of the messaging. If we're introducing a clear bag policy, we just want to be careful that we have the wording correctly. So it would be something to the effect that clear bag policy is coming, details to follow, and indicate that a start date would be some time down the road.
Right. So the big thing is to get the word out so people know it's coming, I guess, is all that this would be a motion to pass it in principle. And when we can have the more public information, or, you know, like at our meeting, I think that would be a better time then there could be more discussion on it. But I know staff's done a lot of work already on it. So there's no sense in wasting the information we have. We should keep moving with it, but we'll just slow it down a little bit on the notice part of it, I think, is what I'm trying to say. So Larry had a question there.
Just another comment through you, Mayor Martin. I think we all agree the education part of it is so important. Even a small detail like having it at the entrance at the transfer stations, so people see it and are reminded. Also, I've had a little bit of conversation with some of the residents regarding information to support the cost savings. I told them that it was at meetings, and there was from the treasurer a report that indicated the cost savings. That's the reason for the change. So maybe I'm asking at some point at a future meeting or some way share that again so that they understand that that's the reasoning.
Okay. Yeah, I think all that information will come out at the first. We can start getting some of that stuff out now. Yeah, there was some discussion on bins and things like that ultimately would be a big savings. But the big thing for Dave and I at the county is there's 2 municipalities in the county that haven't done it, and all the rest of the townships are telling us, well, they're showing us the numbers on how big it is of a savings. And I think all that information, you're right, Larry, we'll get that all out there so people can see the reasoning behind it. I think that's part of the education process, is why we're doing it. And a lot of it's an environmental thing. It's amazing how much stuff goes into the garbage that could be going to recycle. And so all that information will be a big part of before the launch in January. So today it would be just a motion that we, in principle, start the advertising of what's coming, and probably even if we're not back to normal meetings in May, hopefully we can have a report in May that we can launch it officially in May. But right now we're just kind of deferring it from Earth Day for another couple of weeks, but we don't want to leave it too long, and then we don't have a very big window before we implement the soft start. So that's the whole idea behind the motion today. Larry?
And I'll make that motion through you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, moved by Councillor Ellis and seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux. Any questions or comments? Seeing or hearing none. All in favor? Carried. Okay, so that's we can start whatever we have to do there, Ryan and Bob, and I know Margaret was working on it too. So we can get some of that information starting to roll, and as soon as we can talk about it with the public and do a proper meeting, we'll try and do that. So with that, Bob, you have the summary of business here, and there's a few things that we're probably going to want to talk about. I don't know what we can do that, and then I'll open it up to council if there's any questions or concerns or comments about the COVID-19 or what they're hearing. But did you want to go through these one by one? We have 5 items on here. So I'll just start off with the Peterborough Housing delegation for April 20th. Due to what's going on, it's not possible right now. If things go much longer, we'll have to include them maybe into a delegation of a virtual meeting, I guess, Bob. What's your thoughts? Go ahead.
Right. Through you, Mayor Martin. So that is correct. Prior to all things shutting down, we had scheduled Darlene Cook to be a delegation at the April 20th council meeting. There were a number of questions regarding the Peterborough housing development. We want to clarify some questions for the community. So at this time, I would suggest to council that we defer that delegation until we can open the doors again and invite the community to be here and ask questions. We could potentially have that delegation in a virtual meeting, but I think it would be more effective if we can wait till we can gather again.
I was just wondering if there was, we were talking about, you know, the next, well, it's going to be the number 5 is the next council meeting discussion on, you know, what to do and time and whatever. It might be worth, before we cancel this delegation, I just wonder if we could carry it on and ask her what she thinks of doing a virtual, if that's the way we're going to do the 20th, April 20th. If it doesn't look like it's good, if it looks like it's going to end and we're going to be able to have a May 1st meeting, we could tentatively schedule her for May, or the first meeting in May. But if we're not going to meet with her before May, we should be probably looking at getting an update from her and just having maybe a few questions for her that the public has and council has. Go ahead, Bob.
Well, in that case, why don't, through you, Mayor Martin, why don't we suggest that we will invite her to the virtual meeting? And we always have the option to invite her back when the doors open again. But perhaps we could get at least a few questions answered at the virtual meeting with respect to the structure of the development and how they are going to permit residents to be there, et cetera.
Yeah, that might be the best way for now. And that way, even a virtual meeting, as far as an update, I think, you know, it'll be, at least the public will be able to see it if they want to. But we do have some questions, I think, as council's heard them from the public. We can bring those questions forward, and if she can make it work for on this with a virtual meeting. If not, and we think that we're going to be able to have a regular meeting the 1st of May, that would be the best that the public can come. But we do have to keep moving, so that's what I would suggest. It's up to council that we just continue the way we're going with that. Barry?
Yeah, I think you're a little premature in thinking you're having a meeting in May for after council chambers. But,
I know, I'm trying to think positive, that's all.
I know you are, and we all are, but we've got to be realistic too, because we want a bunch of people to come out to this meeting to show our displeasure with what we're getting rammed down our throat by the Peterborough Housing Corporation. It's, here we are, we gave them the land, we're building it for them. You know, all the costs are coming back through us. And they're changing the rules. And we don't have anything to say about it. That bothers me tremendously. And I think rather than have one of these meetings with her, it better be in person. And I would like some of the residents that have put their name in for to be there too, like as a delegation, because from what I'm hearing, it's the rules have all changed, and I don't think it's fair to our municipality and to our taxpayers.
Okay, well, I'll look forward to those comments, and they can always send them into the office, because all I'm hearing is positive. All I'm hearing is everybody's looking, they're excited about this building, and I haven't heard of any changes yet. So I did talk to the counselor at the county there about it, and she hasn't seen any changes come across the table. So that's why if we leave it too long, you know, they're still plugging away, but that's fine. If we want to wait till a public meeting, that's easier for staff, and it's easier, we can leave it, but it could be, if we go with the way you're thinking, maybe it'll be August by the time we can have a regular meeting. That's the only thought I'm thinking. So if we had a virtual meeting, you know, April, and at least get the information that council needs to know. You know, that question could be sent to her ahead of time to give us a list of what's changed, because I haven't had any of that. but all I have is people calling me wondering when they can, they're all filing their applications in to get into the building. I know it's going to be probably too many people. There's only 24 units there, and I've had a lot more calls than that about how to file the application. So anyways.
Now, Jim, there is changes, like the assisted living part is gone. They built the building smaller. Like those are two right off the bat, right off the top. And from what I'm hearing is it might not be, just for the residents of HBM, which bothers me. But as far as to say that there's no changes, there have been changes made. And I think they're big enough for us to be concerned because we are footing the bill and it's our taxpayers' money that we are footing the bill with. So we should have some input, but okay, we could have a meeting with her and get it.
So at least get our council update. If we could have the meeting on April 20th meeting, if she's available to come to a virtual meeting, at least we can get all the information on the table. And then if there's questions around that, people will be able to see it and they'll be able to hear what's happening up there. And the questions will come in up to date. Because right now, everything that's happening, like we understand why they had to change it from an assisted living building. It's still going to have the same capability of being assisted living. But council was notified why they couldn't have that. And the numbers, they told us why they had to go to 24 from 32. So it's all on, we were all notified of it and we have the information, but it's good for the public to get the information. And then they'll have the proper, they can put some proper questions forward if there is still some. So I'm sure she'll give a good update and then we'll go from there. I just think we need to keep moving. We don't need to stall this till, like you say, if I'm maybe being optimistic of thinking May having a meeting, we could be into, June, July, August, and it would be too late anyways to have any discussion because they'll already have the place full. So, so it's just my thought. It's up to council if you want to move in. Larry? Sorry.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I agree 100% with what Councillor Pomeroy has just stated. I agree. We need to get some information through the virtual meeting, get our questions put down and get some answers. And then at some point, unfortunately, with COVID-19, we can't have the public meeting, but that's what's actually required because there is unrest in the municipality. A lot of it is around what's being said is that they're going to fill it with people not from HBM. So that definitely should be top of the heap from the questions, but get the questions out there so we can carry on. But again, I agree 100% with what Councillor Pomeroy has said there. Yeah, they've informed us of changes, but anyway, they've just kind of gone and done what they want to do. So again, I agree, get the questions answered with a virtual meeting. And then at some point, the residents of HBM deserve a meeting to sit and hear from them and voice their concerns.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's what it's for. Hart, you had a question or comment? There you
Yeah,
go.
no, I was just gonna make a motion to move that, Jim.
Okay.
Move that we bring her hopefully for virtual chat at the next meeting with a scheduled public meeting at a later date.
Okay, that's great. That's a good way to word it then. So we will have to have the public part of the meeting, but at least that update might clarify some things for everyone. And, we can get excited about this because it's going to be a good thing for Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. So we have a mover and a seconder, David Giroux. Do you have a comment? Oh, just second, Dave. Just wait till we get the mic. There you go.
Just like to second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor of inviting them, and we'll have a normal meeting after things open up. So all in favor? So that's carried. Thank you. The next thing there, Bob, do you have a long-term care update?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. council had requested that I reach out to Aon to receive a long-term care home update. Obviously, once again, given the state of virtual meetings, they won't be attending. However, they were not able to offer much information at this point. Their focus, of course, right now is COVID-19. Things are very stressful in the long-term care homes. So they didn't have much information to offer other than things have been sent to the province, and they're still waiting for that paperwork and that process to be completed.
Okay, thank you. Any, Barry?
Yes. Now the government has come out with new regulations on the weekend. Are we going to be able to start our building even if we did have the go ahead? Maybe John could answer that question if he's on.
Yeah. John, can you answer that question?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Mayor and Council. Bob and I did speak this morning, and we're going to review what the legislation is. We've had a number of inquiries over the weekend. People want to know whether their projects can move forward, but we want a hard copy of the legislation before we make contact or make comment on it. Once we get that, then we can let you know what projects will be going ahead and which won't. We do have some concerns with the ethanol plant and with Covia, whether they're designated as essential services and whether they'll be moving. I'll be in contact with them today.
Yeah.
Thanks, John. And the way I read it, there was something about if the footings haven't been poured, you're not going to get a permit, and the ones that have footings poured can go ahead with the project. I don't know.
I think with the healthcare part of it, it might squeak through that way, but I think, let's be realistic, probably Aon don't have the time right now to deal with that until they get through this pandemic. They've got their hands full right now with their nursing homes that they have already. I doubt if they're looking for a new one right now. So I think that's basically what Bob got from them is we're in a bad time right now. Let's get through this and then we'll, John can keep working with them there, John, if you can, keep in touch with them. Cause I think it's going to be it's kind of a borderline. I know my daughter's boyfriend works in construction in Toronto. He thought he would be off this week, but he left at 4 o'clock this morning to go to Toronto. They're still working and it's not a hospital. So I think it depends where they are in the project and this thing here being so close to medical, I think it might squeak through once they're ready to go. We're going to need these things, so we need it now. But I think they'll be more receptive to talk about it once they get some of this other stuff off their plate with regards to their existing nursing homes. Barry?
Yeah, the other comment I have to make is the government has not finished all their paperwork yet again. We keep hearing this. Why? Like we've asked Dave Smith to look into it too. Has he come back with any answers? Because, it's over 2 years ago in February since we had this approved over at the site, by the minister himself. And I realized the government has changed, and I thought we were going to move along much quicker, and we started to, but it seems it's at a standstill again. So I would like maybe someone to get a hold of Dave Smith, and he could find out for us why these last 2 papers have not been signed. I have a good feeling, but on the other hand, they don't. We have different rules than some of the other projects that the government has left. So anyway, if we could do that.
And we all want to get this thing going. And I have talked to Dave about it, and I've talked to Piccini down in Northumberland. He's offered to help me too, but right now they're so busy with everything else that there's not too much going to be discussed about this right now. I think the office can attest that as much as the normal business, you're trying to keep it moving. This is sucking up a lot of time with a lot of questions and things that are coming through the public that normally wouldn't be there. So it's filling your time in other areas. And then I know Bianca, with trying to set this meeting up, has probably been pretty busy trying to make these things all come together. So let's get, hopefully Bob, you can keep working with them, and we'll keep working with the province, and hopefully have an answer here in the near future. And John, if you can see where it goes, I know what you're saying with the other areas. So Larry, did you have something there? Was your hand up, or
I'm good.
Pardon?
Thanks. I'm good,
Okay.
thanks, Jim.
Okay, so it's okay, Bob. We just receive, like, we'll keep moving through these, but we'll just receive them as one. So bylaw enforcement and public gatherings. We talked a little bit about that earlier with up north, but who would that go to? Is that John? Would you be?
Well, I'll just comment on that briefly, and then I'll let John comment if he wishes. Through you, Mayor Martin, we had a request, or a question rather, regarding public gatherings and whether bylaw enforcement can handle those. I'm reluctant to. We're not going to bring our bylaw enforcement officer in, our contract person. I don't think we want to introduce another person into the mix right now. However, we do have some bylaw enforcement officers on staff, and John and Lucan were both brave enough, if I can say that, to offer to handle these situations should they arise. If we notice there's a public gathering, we can certainly politely try to suggest to people that they shouldn't be gathering and they should move along. I just want to emphasize, however, we are not equipped to handle any situations that may escalate. If tempers start to flare and tensions rise, those are going to be police matters to be handled, and I certainly don't want to put anyone in harm's way. And I'll let John comment if he wishes further.
Thank you, Bob. So Bob and I did have a brief discussion about it, and I know we're seeing lots on the news about how the City of Toronto has done short form wording and passed bylaws and are imposing fines and so on. And I think through our discussion, we've been, Ray and Lucan and I are all designated as bylaw officers. So should the need arise, and I'm not aware of any complaints at this point, but should the need arise, we can go and politely ask people to disperse. If there's any escalation from there, we can soon phone the OPP and go from there.
Okay. Hart, you had a question? There you go.
Yeah, Jim, is it our responsibility to be sending people out there? I don't know if you're through your discussions with other mayors or even the MPP or the MP. Is it in the jurisdiction of our bylaw officer, or would that be an OPP jurisdiction?
The complaints come through us, and then we direct them where they need to go. So some of them might go to the health unit. Some of them might end up coming back to us. Any of these things, though, are if they're against our bylaw, it's up to us to look after it. It depends what the circumstance is. This one here right now, ultimately, I think any charges in that we are keeping track of anything that's happening that wouldn't normally be there. So it's because of the pandemic here. I think we're keeping a log of expenses that are happening, and I think they can go in the binder for later discussion as far as any costing that happens with this that we wouldn't normally deal with. So I don't know if I'm right there, Wendelin, but I would think any of these extra expenses we have. Yeah, sorry.
No, a good point about the cost. That was something that I wasn't going down that road. Just for me, it was more of, as Bob alluded to, bringing like our bylaw officer. Are we sending him into a situation where he doesn't really have any authority to say break up that and might, might get into a situation where somebody challenges his authority or whatnot. Not that that's right, but I'm just saying, is it something we should have the OPP, like we should just be contacting the OPP and letting them do, or should we have John and Lucan be doing this if it comes to that? I don't know. Maybe it doesn't come to that.
I think we have to pick and choose, but that's one of the questions I put to Dave yesterday, because I wasn't happy with Ray going out at 9 o'clock on a Saturday night on his own to deal with a fire, that we weren't going to put the fire ban on. Ray, no, I don't even think Ray can talk now. I'm not sure if he's able to talk, but I know, John, you had something there, but Ray did go up there to deal with that, and I don't feel comfortable with him on his own, and I don't feel comfortable for staff going to these things if there could be a problem. It is an OPP issue, and that's what they're saying, is we have to go through the channels. So we can ask for OPP assistance, and if staff's not comfortable, by all means, that's what we should be doing. Like, don't be going up to a group of people, you know, if there's something going on. I don't think, I'm with you, Hart, and I think John, well, they know we're with them.
Yeah, I'm just asking because I'm getting questions out there in terms of that. So, I mean, if someone saw a group of people gathering, should we tell them to contact the municipal office? Should we tell them to contact the OPP? Where, like, who?
So depending on what the issue is, I think it has to come through our office, and then staff will direct it to where it needs to go. If it's blatant that it's you know, if it's an OPP thing, they can even call the OPP, because that's what happened the other night. The people called 911. The OPP, that's what I was a little bit. Anyways, the OPP sent Ray. You know, that's what we need to clarification on. So if that works, if you understand what I'm saying. So it has to go through its channels, and staff can try and route them through wherever they got to go. But John, did you have something there?
Yeah, so if I can, through you, Mayor Martin. So Hart, we're going to get a copy of the legislation, because what I'm reading is the way the province has passed it, it can be enforced by police, peace officer, or municipal bylaw enforcement. So the legislation has been written so that we can enforce it. However, Bob and I did talk, and like as far as issuing tickets and fines and so on, like that's not something we're going to pursue at this point. If the call comes in during regular hours and we have staff here, we can attend and tell them to disperse. And if it escalates anything from there at all, or we have any indication it is, we would then call the OPP. The question, of course, and in our discussions this morning with Bob, is if people see their neighbor too close to them and they phone the police, that's not going to be a priority for the police to send somebody, especially in off hours, to have somebody tell people to move away. And if it's something we can easily do, we would sure look at it.
Thanks for that, John. Yeah, I understand that we could be swamped with frivolous phone calls here, but more than anything, like I said, I was concerned about, let's say, our employees being sent out to a situation whereby they might be confronted with someone that might not think they have that authority.
Correct.
So, you know, and I didn't want, like, as you said, you could always step back and get away, but sometimes, especially in times like these things can escalate quickly. So I'm just was concerned about, like I said, sending you or Lucan out to a place where somebody might not think that you should be on their property or have the authority to be on their property. So.
And we have talked about that, and we do have badges that identify us with our BCIN number on it. And legislatively, we would have the authority to be on there, but we want to do it cautiously and be cognizant of the people and the conditions.
Okay. Thank you, John.
So Ray, I don't know whether you can speak or not. I don't see a microphone on your screen. So Bianca, I don't know. Can Ray speak at all, or?
Yes, Ray has been unmuted. Ray, you may speak if you like.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. What's the question, Jim?
Well, I'm just wondering, are you comfortable with what happened the other night, and is everything okay as far as you dealing with that? Is there anything that we're missing here? You know, like I said, I think like Hart's saying, we don't want staff going into something that's unsafe. And to me, that was a little bit close to the line there as far as you heading up at 9 o'clock on a Saturday night to deal with 9 people or whatever there was. I was reported 9. You said there might have been 6 or something, but anyways, it was more than 5. Dave Smith knows that, and he was checking into it. Is there anything you want to add to this discussion for bylaw enforcement?
No, I was fine going up there because I'm changing my protocols for the guys here not to be going any more than 2 in a truck for minor medicals and stuff like that. So it's hard for me to bring a whole bunch of people into a truck to go up there. And I've gone up there at 2 o'clock in the morning as well. Like, it's not an issue. Like, they're just trying to have fun, right?
Yeah.
So, and I was in contact the whole time with dispatch. So dispatch knew, like, if I needed the OPP, they can come. They're responded out there. So it's fine. We can work through it.
Okay. All right. Is there any other questions with regards to bylaw enforcement? Larry?
Yeah, just more just a comment. My intention of bringing that forward about bylaw enforcement was just to identify, and part brought forward lots of good questions there to make sure it's kind of clear, the process. My thoughts around our own bylaw enforcement is they would just basically identify a situation and not maybe get involved, because we have heard in some areas where the party group is still on, like whether it's at a beach or wherever. But to me, it would be a smart move, as we've discussed here, is to identify and then leave it up to the authorities to deal.
That's right. Okay. All right. If there's no further comments on that, just be safe when you're doing it, to the staff people. So Larry, or Barry adjusted his screen there. He was on his side for a bit. I don't know whether he was laying down or how that was working, but anyways, thank you. Thanks. So the next report, Bob, is the boathouses on Jack's Lake. And I know we received some documents last week, but I think it's on a schedule for discussion, as we wanted to put this off into the summer anyway. So we're sure everyone's back. And this is another one of those things that has to have the public input. So I would think that that would be just information for now, and moving forward, we'll try and get something before we get into the fall, because that was the whole thing. This came forward when the people weren't back from the south, and we wanted to have their input too. So go ahead, Bob.
So through you, Mayor Martin, the planning consultant did draft 2 draft reports to deal with these issues, which I circulated council. Obviously, they're not on the agenda today. And the planning consultant is essentially asking for some direction. Are we hoping to pursue this while we're still doing virtual meetings? And there's a timeline in there, which I don't feel we can abide by at this time. We have no idea how that timeline is going to play out. So I think they were just wondering if we're going to proceed, or shall we hold those off until we can actually have people in the room, and the people affected, and obviously council knows, I think they would prefer to be here.
And that's what I think that's the reason why we didn't like it done over the winter. We wanted to wait so everybody could be a part of it. So I guess we'll just have to watch how things progress as far as provincially. And it would be best if we could have it as a regular public meeting instead of a virtual, but people are welcome to put for input. And we do have quite a file on this, I think, anyways. So if we just keep plugging away at it, and let's just keep this on, maybe you can bring it forward as soon as things have changed, that we can have a public meeting and people can have the proper input into it. Is that okay? Bob, does that work for you?
Well, it works for me, Your Worship, as long as it works for all of council. The other possibility for this is we could bring the reports forward from the planning consultant at the next meeting and pass a resolution that timelines and any further activity would be delayed until we are able to meet again in the traditional way.
Okay, yeah, that works. That works, Bob. Is there any discussion with that before I call for a motion that we get the report for the next meeting? Okay, so Larry, you had a question?
Well, just to comment on what CAO Bob has brought forward to us. I think it's good advice there. We all know that at the previous meetings, we had good attendance, both for and against the boathouse. So I think it's only fair to those individuals to hold off till we can have the public meeting. But I agree with what CAO Bob has just stated there. And if you're looking for a motion to defer with his comments, I would do that.
Okay, moved by Councillor Ellis that we get the report on the next at the next meeting, and then we set up when we can, we'll have the real meeting with the public. So that's moved by Councillor Ellis and seconded by Councillor Webb. Do you have a comment, Art, or is that?
No, I was just gonna say kind of what Larry and Bob said, and that to get the reports out to the public in the next meeting, that way they can read through it, and then eventually, by the time we do get to the meeting, right, we're not dropping it on them a week or two before, so they should have plenty of time to read the documents.
Okay, thank you. So seconded by Art. Any other comments or questions? So all in favor of bringing that back with next meeting? Carried. So, so the last thing on the for this new business here was the next council meeting, and I think we will be having one. It's just the time I was suggested to Bob, whether we need to have it at 5 o'clock or we could possibly. We're pretty flexible on when we have it. So I was just wondering what council thought there. Barry, you had.
Yeah, I think the daytime would be much better because all the staff is available at a time when we can't, just rely on them being there at night. So personally, I think daytime would be much better.
Okay, so I suggest to him, I don't know how hard it is in the morning to get this video thing up and running. If 9:30 works for staff, that's fine. If I said 1 o'clock works, that's fine too. Most of my other ones actually end up happening at between 4 and 7. So the 5 o'clock one could be a challenge anyway. So daytime works better for me also. So Larry had a comment there.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll wait till your discussion is finished there. I had a couple items I wanted to speak to under other business.
Okay. Okay. So this part of the thing, as far as the 5 things that are listed on here, if 9:30 or 1, which is better for you, Bob? And then I'll just make sure with council that they'd have to make the motion. But what does the 9:30 work for you, Bob?
9:30 works fine. Either one of those, whatever council prefers.
Well, to keep things consistent, I would suggest the 9:30 meeting on the 20th, and maybe put a notice that it won't be at 5 o'clock. And is that okay with council? If it is, Larry made the motion that we. I think it was. Did Larry make that? Sorry, it just slipped up here. But did you make that motion that we go with a daytime meeting?
I can. I had put my hand up to add a couple of comments in for other business.
Okay. Well, let's get through this here, and then moved by Councillor Ellis that we have a 9:30 meeting. I'll put that into the motion, and seconded by Councillor Pomeroy with a question. Do you have a question, Barry? No. Okay. Dave, comment?
Before you move on with the motion, I have a question for Sonia.
Okay. On this specific to this motion?
Well,
to the
timeline, no.
Sorry, I missed that.
Not on the timeline, but it deals with the meeting.
Okay. So to get the motion time scheduled, we'll just work on that right now. All in favor of 9:30 on April 20th? Okay, carried. Okay, Dave. So we're gonna move, is there anything else that needs a motion to move things along there, or can we just receive all the other reports there, Bob?
No, that completes the list that I had.
Okay, so just a motion to receive those, and then we'll move into other business. Councillor Ellis had a question, and Dave didn't add others too. Plus, with regards to this pandemic, I'm sure there's some questions. So, is a motion to receive the new business reports moved by Councillor Hart and seconded by Councillor Pomeroy or Councillor Webb? Sorry, Hart. I'm reading your name on here. Anyways, all in favor? Carried. What would a meeting be without me calling you Councillor Hart? So anyways, okay. So Larry, you had a question, and then Dave. Just a second, Larry. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a couple of things under other business still.
Mhm.
First one, just for council's information, a few years back, we had issues back in the Kosh Lake area. Not sure the Fire Road, but I had a call on the weekend from Fire Road 65. Apparently there's a bit of a dump started there, a car that's been burnt, and a lot of trash and garbage. So I have given that information to Peter and Ryan are going to look into it. I believe that's Crown land, and I think if my memory serves me correct, we had that issue before back in there. So I'm just bringing that forward for council's info.
That is that's an ongoing thing, Larry. I think John's dealt with it a couple times, and I know our bylaw enforcement officer has, because it came up last year. So it's in progress, I guess you could say. It is on there.
Yeah, well, I had the gentleman even sent me pictures, so there's lots of garbage there. So
yeah.
Anyway, Peter and Ryan were gonna deal with it, find out the particulars. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the transfer station on the weekend, and I'm asking if there was any support there for Kevin to deal with the amount of seasonal people that were there, and I understand he had some major issues. I'm not sure what all they were, but I'm asking, I guess through Ryan, if there was extra support there for him, or what the issues were.
Okay, Ryan, are you aware of that, or?
No, I haven't heard any issues. I didn't receive any calls from Kevin over the weekend with any concerns or anything. So I can follow up with Kevin to see what they were in terms of additional support. No, it was just Kevin, just as normal, working at the transfer station.
Okay, well, I would like to know what they were. At some point, if I get time, I'll go and hear it firsthand from Kevin, I guess. But I guess what I'm thinking is, if there were such issues that I'm hearing, that because of the weather, probably it drove more seasonal people there, and whatever took place, I'm not sure. I guess that needs to be asked of Kevin.
Yeah. So I was there on Saturday morning and spoke to Kevin. So I'm assuming if there was any issues, it would have been after that. So I said I can follow up and find out if you like, and get back.
Appreciate it. Thank you. And the last thing I was going to ask, I seen in one of our reports, we do have a new fire truck ordered. Our fleet color is red, and I'm hoping that this time when we replace a fire truck that it's ordered in red as the rest of the fleet.
I think that was because go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, there is red in the tender that went out.
That means that we've ordered the truck in red?
It's not ordered. It's just we're waiting to see what comes back, because we're hoping to get something off the lot, because then that way the parks can have that truck for the use of the summer. So the truck's not being ordered. We're hoping just to get it, like I said, off the lot somewhere.
Well, usually when you order, you get a better deal, for one thing. And again, our fleet colors are red. And it's kind of noticeable when you have one that's burgundy versus our fleet color red.
Okay, so you can deal with that, Ray, right? It's, you got red on your tender, you and Wendelin of, yeah, I see Wendelin shaking her head, so that's dealt with, Larry.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay,
That's it.
okay, thank you. Dave, you had some comments, and then Barry?
I have a comment for Sonia, a question for Sonia.
Okay,
Sonia, for our next meeting, can we assume that we're going to have minor variances?
I have no minor variances for the next meeting. There is a zone amendment that's awaiting a public meeting from an application we received before all of this peaked.
So I can assume probably we won't have any, even if they come in today.
No, it won't be today. Yeah, we haven't even done the 20-day notice of
Okay.
application, so it has to await that anyway. So we're into the May meeting possibly,
That's good.
unless there's the meeting for the one that was deferred, the last meeting, but we're awaiting comments from Oak Ridge for that particular one that Jim's probably wondering about as well.
Yeah.
So I know Amanda at DM Wills was waiting from Oak Ridge for some more comments. We've got Crow Valley, but we're waiting further so that she can finalize that report.
Thank you, Sonia. I was just wondering how our virtual meeting would go in accordance with the minor variance rules.
I'd be interested to know too, just how far do we need to go as far as public meetings go? Not everyone has the ability to do this sort of virtual or telephone meetings, so I'm not sure.
Well, as we all know, we've had people come from the United States for a 20-minute minor variance session, so I just want to make sure that we're doing everything possible to accommodate those minor variance applications. That's all.
Oh, for sure. We're going to take them as far as we can.
Thank you.
John, you had something to that? Sorry?
Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of add to that is we don't want to be giving out a mixed message. The Premier, through a lot of mayors, is requesting that people not attend their seasonal dwellings or flood the area with people. And the timelines legislatively have all been suspended. So as far as having to do a minor variance or a rezoning in the timelines that used to be required under the Planning Act, that's all been suspended. So, and this also goes, Bob and Sonia and I have had a discussion about the boathouse coming forward too, is that we hadn't put any money budgeted for our planners to spend a lot of money on doing surveys and having public meetings, and then to request the public not come to our area but have a meeting is kind of giving a mixed message and counterproductive. So some of this planning stuff may just have to wait till this is all passed.
Thanks for that, John.
Okay. Bob?
Sorry, just a quick follow-up to that. That was the regulation that is included in our agenda package. That's the regulation, the emergency order that suspends all the timelines.
Yeah. So, okay, Barry, you had something in new business?
Yeah, I'm going back to the 6-line transfer site. Is there, this would be addressed to Ryan. Is there any safety precautions there for Kevin? Like, do we have gloves? I know we don't have any running water at that site. So have we got any way for him to wash his hands? Do we have the, the plastic gloves or whatever's needed, for him to do the job properly? I'm just concerned about that. And I know that I got a couple reports from people that were at the 6-line site yesterday, and he was going nuts because people that had just been home for 3 days and down south are cleaning out their cottage and bringing the stuff into the dump. And there's some of it you can't receive at all, like building materials and so on and so forth. I know that. And he's been up in arms, and I can understand fully why. But I think we also have to address the safety concerns down there for our employees.
And I went in to see him last Saturday, Barry. I had a little bit of a issue last Friday, and I went in to see him, and I'll let Ryan speak to it, but I told him then that he's got to, report these. If there's somebody coming in there, that's where it goes back to going through the chain of notification, and he should have called Ryan by now, I would think, and tell him there was a problem, and that license plate number should have been forwarded to the OPP, and a follow-up should be done on that. So I told him that last weekend, and I'm kind of surprised if this problem was going on, that he hasn't got a hold of Ryan yet, because that's part of his job, is to talk to his supervisor. So maybe Peter's heard about it by now, but yeah, he's gonna have to take some responsibility here and start going through the chain of command here, and we got to deal with it, because it's totally unacceptable. It's only for bags of garbage too. There's no building materials allowed. He's gonna have to monitor that, and I think you have some safety precautions in place as far as no cash. They got buckets there. He's not supposed to handle any cash. So if they have tags, they can get them at Foodland still, I think. If not, exact change, drop it in the bucket. He's not supposed to touch it. And that's the way it is for the next foreseeable future. But as far as the alcohol cleaning, I think that's happening too. But Ryan, maybe you could answer to that on the safety things that are in place up there.
Yes, so you had already kind of mentioned some of the measures that were put in place a few weeks ago, and that was that we are only accepting household garbage. We are recommending or encouraging residents to bring exact change, that we aren't going to be able to make change for you. We do have a bucket there that has a slot in it that they're supposed to drop the money in, so there is supposed to be no exchange of money between our staff and our customers. We did deliver personal protective equipment, so some gloves and hand sanitizer. I realize there's no running water, but those materials have been supplied to our staff in all of the locations, and they know that they're to let us know if they're running low on any supplies or anything at any time. So we've been making a point to visit them frequently, and as for the concerns that have taken place over the weekend, as I said before, I haven't heard about it yet, so but I can certainly look into it.
Yeah, well, thanks, Ryan, and I'd appreciate it if you could down and have a chat with him, because from what I understood from yesterday, I wasn't down there myself, but I had a couple of people call me, and he was beside himself. These people, just coming in, and they're picking on him, and trailers full of stuff, and he just can't handle it. So I don't want to lose him, that's for sure. So, and he don't know enough to phone you. That's not my fault. And I guess he's just excited. But you're going to have to stress, I guess, to him that if he's got a problem, to give you a call, so you can handle it, because it's not fair to you. It's not fair to him, that he's being harassed down there.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll certainly follow up with Kevin and find out what exactly happened over the weekend, and what we can do to help him with that. Certainly we can repost the information through our social media outlets, reminding people that we are only accepting the household garbage. I did speak to Kevin on Saturday morning, and he had said that he had had a few people coming with their loads of construction materials and yard cleanup stuff, and that I told him then that at this point you are to refuse those loads just because we aren't accepting it. So if that's the situation's escalating, there's a few measures we can take in terms of getting the messaging out to the public that they're only accepting that. And yeah, I'll look into it and see what we can come up with.
Okay, thanks, Ryan.
Okay, Hart, do you have anything under new business that you wanted to bring
Yeah,
forward?
well, just along that line of questioning, I asked you to, so there's no yard waste allowed at the dump, right?
No, not at this time.
Jim, do we have, I know they're continuing to do garbage pickup and recycling pickup in the town. Will they be doing the yard waste pickup?
I'll have to find out about that. I don't know right now, but I thought they were still, but I'll find out and let you know.
Because I'm already seeing people with their bags out on the sidewalk. So, I mean, if they're not gonna do it, we probably should let them know so that we don't have yard waste bags strewing the sidewalks of the street, so.
I'll find that out today. With all these issues that are happening at our transfer station, unfortunately, without having garbage pickup, we have to have the transfer station. So I know Norwood has closed their transfer station, but they have garbage pickup. This is something we're going to have to talk about moving forward once we come out of this, because
That was,
yeah.
sorry, that was just leading to my next point, which was I've had another, I don't know if you guys have as well, number of comments about just that, about garbage being dumped, not so much even back in the township, but just around town, laying out on street corners and stuff. And I guess that's probably a sign of the times, and people, whether they're in tough or they don't think the dump is open or might not be taking this stuff. But I think, you know, I guess this would be directed towards Ryan. I know our guys aren't garbage pickup guys, but if they can, you know, if they're going down the street and they can see garbage laying here or there, so I guess bigger stuff, I'm not talking about candy wrappers and that, if they could, you know, throw it in the back of the truck and get rid of it. I understand that's not their job, but at this time I'm getting, last week I think every day I had a report of either a garbage bag or two garbage bags, substantial garbage, not small piles of garbage, being picked up by our residents around town. So, you know, and I'm not making this comment to the roads department, but I'm just saying at this time, until things get back to normal, you know, so that we want to keep the town looking good. People have enough other bad stuff on their mind. They don't need to walk down the streets of our town and see, you know, garbage strewn across the street. So whenever we can, if we could have somebody, I know I've picked up a couple myself just behind the garage, right in the middle of the street. So
yeah, these are going to be some of the challenges that we got moving forward. You know, it's the same in the township. I know at the Oak Lake transfer station, yesterday there was a bag dumped off but when it was closed, and the animals tore it apart. So, you know, yeah, this is probably will ramp up a little bit, you know, but we are going to have to keep an eye on the transfer station and how we're doing things there. And if the people aren't abiding by the rules, signage is a big thing, maybe to help Kevin out. Or maybe if he needs help on the weekend down there, we're going to have to look at that to try and keep things under control. I don't know. We'll leave that with you, Ryan. You can talk to him, see what the issues were, and tell him how to deal with these things as far as the chain of command to where he's supposed to go with it. And we'll help him as much as we can. Is there any other questions or comments in new business, Larry? And then we'll go ahead.
Yeah, and just to add to Councillor Webb's comments there in town, across from the train station, the old Bob Watson garage, for those that are my age and remember, there's one of those drop boxes there. It's supposed to be for clothes from what I understand, but it looks like a garbage dump there. At least last time I was up through town, there's all kinds of stuff there. It's just an invitation for rats. I don't know how you control that or who you notify, but it sure is an eyesore, and it's right on our main drag.
So that's a good point. There is a number on there, Ryan. I don't know if somebody, maybe Peter, could give them a call. And they have put a thing out that they're not collecting in those bins, but they should probably put a sign on their bins too that, you know, not that it's going to stop the people, but these people are still dropping it there. Everybody's doing spring cleaning now, and that's one of the issues we're having at all the waste sites. People want to bring in a lot more garbage than normally would be there, and that's why we put this thing on that just general garbage is allowed, and that's it, because we don't have the ways to deal with the influx of waste that's going to be coming right now. If people could bear with it for now, but Hart had his thumb up. Go ahead, Hart.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Larry for referencing that, because I drove by that pile of junk this morning. And just moving forward, like, how are we going to deal with this? Because I understand, like, as we all know, this could carry on for a month or two. So just using that as an example, are we just going to leave that there until the company, like, I mean, if the company is going to be picking stuff up for a month or two, we can't just leave that there, can we? Like, that's kind of what I'm getting at with these situations like that. Is it, shouldn't we take the lead and go and get it and put it in the garbage? Because it's going to be garbage anyways if it's sitting out there for a month in the rain and the dew and everything else. So, I mean, you know, at what point do we make that decision is basically what I'm saying.
And that's what others are doing. And unfortunately, with what's going on right now, yeah, we probably will have to pick up some garbage around. I mean, I've walked my road here the past little while daily, and we've all done the garbage pickup days, and the sides of the roads are a mess. That stuff there, I said, I wish at one time, and I don't know whether with the way things are right now, it would be really nice to go through those bags. I know others have done that, and looking for identification, because and with the way things are right now, you're probably not going to go through the garbage. But in the future here, we're going to have to get back to that and start nailing these people that are dropping their garbage on the streets and roads. It's not just in town. This is a township-wide thing. I've been out before and I borrowed the township truck one time with a previous counselor, and we picked up a whole dump truck load of garbage at a spot. So,
and I get that, Jim, but I'm just saying in terms of dealing with it. Like, the fact is, we can't leave it there forever. So, I mean, you know, whether do we tell Ryan or somebody to get it picked up, or do we just leave it there until we get a hold of the company? Like,
no, let's leave it with Ryan, and Ryan can talk to staff and come up with a plan. And we can't just leave it there. We realize that, but we'll, between the garbage company that's looking after things on Thursdays and the recycling, and then these bags that are left behind, if people are just dropping them off, we are going to have to get rid of them, but we're going to have to work on it as we go here on how we can fix the problem.
Okay.
It's going to be a long, okay?
Thank you.
Barry?
Yeah, I think one of the first things to do would be phone the company, tell them to get their bin the hell out of there. Because then they've got nowhere to dump their garbage. And if they're caught dumping garbage on that lot, you got a leg to stand on.
So,
But we can't go on like this with them just keep filling up the lot with the trash.
that's right. So anybody else has any other suggestions around this, give Ryan a call, and we'll leave it with Ryan to see what he can do to help us out on this. I think that's the best way to deal with it, because we all have, that's what I said about this new business portion here. We'll let everybody have a little word. Mostly, you know, hopefully we won't fix all the problems today, but we'll do the best we can, is what I said. So, so with that, I think Ryan's got enough direction there to deal with some of those things with the 6th line and garbage, and how we can move forward on it. That might be something for the next report, because it is going to get worse. So, did you have something, Barry? Or yeah, that's what
I just got my watch.
Yeah. So what do you have anything to comment on then with regard to you getting anything about the COVID thing? Like, all the stuff kind of relates to it. So do you have anything to add to the new business?
No, nothing that hasn't been touched on, and I'm sure we'll have lots more, but
Yeah, I think so. So
we're not going to solve all the problems today, so.
that's right. So so staff has been on here patiently. Is there anything that you need to add in here? I'll just open it up. If you put your hand up, if you had something to add. If not, we'll move on. So Bob?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. All of these conversations have a consistent theme, whether it's the transfer station or people gathering. The bottom line is the upper levels of government and the public health officials are putting some rules in place. And unfortunately, we're having people that are not following some of those rules. Quite often, the township becomes the default for handling these situations. I just want to express that staff, we're going to do our best. We are doing our best to handle all of these matters in a diplomatic way. We always try to find the middle ground where we're not offending people. But it's becoming more and more stressful as this goes on longer and these matters escalate. I think if it gets to a point where people are just flaunting the rules, for example, at the transfer station, where they're asked not to bring their construction material, but they're not listening to Kevin, who's asking them to turn around, those people will have to be banned from our transfer station. And we may have to escalate from there. We keep defaulting to this, but these may become police matters if necessary. Same thing as I said earlier with the people gathering, we will attempt to ask people politely to disperse, but if it goes anything beyond that, it will become a police matter. We have to be mindful of keeping staff safe. We're going to do everything we can to keep our town looking good and feeling safe for everyone, especially those who are abiding by the rules. But those who are not following the rules and the direction, we will need to perhaps have help in dealing with them.
Thank you. Okay. Larry, and then we'll get going here.
Yeah, just last comment. I think Bob is really right on with all his comments there. And in regards to last comment on the transfer station, especially the 6th line, I think Brian for sure is going to look after it, but I'd still like to just one last comment is I think on a temporary basis, some support there, especially weekend, is a requirement. The last comment, I'd like to commend Bob for his email to his staff. It's easy for us on the outside looking in. It's not easy, it's hard for us all, but to manage the municipality and enforce all the different changes and have the input and the support of your staff there is commendable. And I just thought that was a great part of doing your business there, is commenting to the staff for all their support. I know it's not easy, so kudos to all of them as well as yourself. So I just wanted to say that, and thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, moving on then. Dave, did you say anything in new business? I don't know whether I missed you or not. So, and then we'll get going here.
I'll make this brief, Mr. Mayor. We sit here almost 3 hours, so no, under new business in pertaining to Covia, I'm getting the same questions that everybody gets, I think, is, will Kosh Lake be open? Will the boat ramps be open? Are we going to continue with our roads and infrastructure? I think we're all getting the same questions. We're doing our best, or I'm doing my best to, if I don't have the answer, give them the telephone numbers that those agencies will. So on the whole picture, I think we're doing well.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other comments? Otherwise, Barry?
Yeah, my battery's getting low. I'm going to soon lose you.
Yeah.
I'm just plugged in.
Okay. So with that, we've had some good discussion here. Even our virtual meetings are longer than what we plan on. But anyways, there was some good information here. Hopefully, for the next meeting, we can have some answers to some of those things. So with that, Bob, go ahead.
I'm just going to ask if we can unmute Ray for a second.
Okay.
There we go. Hi, Ray.
Hi.
Ray, I don't know if there's anything just before. I know you've been muted for a while, so I'm not sure if you wanted to jump in earlier or not, but is there anything you want to share with council or the rest of the group while you're on the line here?
Not really. I was gonna try and get out Saturday to get these signs made up. I did have, the company over in Norwood make up some new signs, nice big ones to put on, coming into town for the fire band. I'll get them up as soon as this is over here today. And I will be putting up just some of our own HBM burn ban signs because it is a ministry one. And I'll definitely get something out of the dump because Kevin did call me regarding people asking the questions.
Okay, all right, so he went to you instead of Ryan, but, okay, we'll move forward then. Is that okay, Bob, then?
No, that's great. Are there any more questions for Ray while he's on the line? All right, thanks, Ray. I think John wanted to jump in here for a second.
Okay.
John, did you have something?
Just a minute.
Yes, I just wanted to let everyone know that our building inspector is away. He's on day 4 of 14-day isolation. He's well and he's fine, but it was a precautionary measure, and we're in contact with him every day, and he's doing okay.
That's good, thank you. Yeah, your department's trying to do the best they can on the timeline, so, okay. Dave?
Just a quick thank you and welcome back to John. It's the first time I've seen him since they come back, and I'm glad they're both home safe and got their 2 weeks in.
Okay. All right then. So we'll move on. Is there anything you need out of there then, Bob? Is that good?
Oh, I think we're good.
Okay.
I think we're good. I just want to thank Bianca for helping put this together. The computer wizardry is all her.
Okay. Thank you, Bianca. Worked out relatively well. So, okay. So, did you have something there, John? No, just thumbs up. Great. Okay. All right then. The bylaw, we dealt with it earlier in the meeting.
Yeah.
So the next part is the confirming bylaw. I'll be looking for a motion for the confirming bylaw. Deputy Mayor Giroux, seconder. I know Councillor Ellis. All in favor? That's carried. And next we look for adjournment, and we'll put down that surprise. Councillor Pomeroy and seconder. Councillor Webb, all in favor? Carried. Thank you, everybody. This was an experience, and we'll see how we can do on the next one. Hopefully, we'll iron out some of the glitches. But thank you very much for taking part in this, staff, and let's just keep things moving the best we can and stay safe. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just like to also add to that a great thank you to Bob and all the staff and Bianca and all the staff in the office. It's quite a different mode of working, and I'm very pleased to see that you're making it work. And as we go, you just get better. So all the best, and the same to council. It's quite a change for council too, not to be able to deliver things in person to the appropriate people, and sometimes things get left by the wayside, but we'll do it. Thanks, team.
Okay, I think we started another round here, Barry. So now Dave, go ahead.
I just wanted to say I got a picture of our historical moment with our first web meeting.
Very good. Yep, that's a good thing to put out later on, eh? Okay, so the meeting is adjourned. So everybody, how do you want to do this? Just disconnect, Bianca, is that?
I can end the meeting for everyone if you like.
You got the control, go for it.
Bianca will pull the plug.
Okay,
All right.
put the plug on us, Bianca.